knows how you come across somebody once in a while you shouldn't have messed with. That's me.
I am not an African American.
You're an Oreo cookie. White in the inside and black on the outside.
I don't have an afro. I have an Amerifro.
Talking that idiotic stuff you talk about, I will slap you.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Black as the ace of spades, but 100% American.
Heard around the world by everybody and their mama. The Jesse Lee Peterson Radio Show.
Uniting the races with truth instead of dividing them with lies. We're also rebuilding the family by rebuilding the man. I am Jesse Lee Peterson. Welcome to the show. I have with me Brad Dacus, president of the Pacific Justice Institute, which defends religious liberties and parental rights. Let's see here. Pacific Justice Institute handles more cases on the West Coast than any other organizations of its kind. And it's good to be a friend of the Pacific Justice Institute. I'm going to tell you we will tell you how to get involved. We'll tell you how to get to their websites and things like that, all right? There is a bill, SB 323, and it's aimed at forcing the Boy Scouts and other Christian organizations to embrace homosexuality and gender identity. And I wanted Brad to update us on that bill. Brad, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Oh, it's great to be on the program. Thank you, Jesse.
Yeah, thank you for being here. I really do appreciate you and what you guys are doing. Tell the folks about SB 323 and what's going on with it at this point.
You bet. My pleasure. This is known as the Anti-Boy Scouts Bill. SB 323 is the Anti-Boy Scouts Bill. I think many in your audience are not going to they're going to be sort of in denial when they first hear about it, because many people have a hard time believing that a civilized country or state, in this case, could even promote something like this.
Yeah.
But what it does is it says that any youth organization, any nonprofit youth organization in California that does not agree to hire homosexual leaders for their youth, or people who also would be transsexuals for their youth, any nonprofit youth organization that does not agree to hire such individuals to lead their youth, maybe on a trip up to the mountains for overnight, then they will lose their state tax-exempt status.
Amazing.
And this, get this, Jesse, this applies. It's not just the Boy Scouts, mind you. Maybe you'll think just the Boy Scouts, which to me is terrible because I used to be a Boy Scout, okay? Yeah. And it's a wonderful program, but it also applies to the 4-H club. It applies to Special Olympics. It applies to even religious-based youth organizations like Young Life or Youth for Christ or Fellowship of Christian Athletes. So it's a major censorship, major violation of the rights of freedom of association and others. And if they lose their state tax exempt status, there's 2 points to this. One is anyone who donates to them will not be able to deduct it from their state tax forms, state taxes. But get this, anything they do bring in is going to now be taxed like a for-profit corporation, and will have to pay the very high state corporate taxes that are now levied. So it's a terrible, terrible, intolerant piece of legislation.
The Senate, the California Senate approved the bill S323 on Wednesday, right? Oh,
yes. You're right. So, yeah, and that's when people think, well, it's not going to be approved. Well, it was approved by the state Senate, and the vote count was very alarming. There were 9 who voted against it, and 27 that voted for it. All who voted for it were Democrats. All who voted against it were Republicans.
Amazing. So there's nothing to stop it then. And I mean, at this point, it's done, right?
Well, it still has to go to the state assembly. Okay, so that's and although people are thinking, well, it's probably going to pass there too, since it passed so overwhelmingly in the state senate.
Right.
But in the state assembly, it's a little closer, and the Democrats still have to give 2/3 the vote on this bill because of the fact that it is technically a revenue generator. Anything that raises taxes or raises revenue, like it's which is an indirect, it's a tax increase basically on nonprofit youth organizations. Then they have to get a 2/3 majority. So that's why it's still stoppable in the state assembly. There's just two or three. There's two that I know of. There may be a third seats that have a good chance that we can convince the Democrats to side the other way. One is out of Bakersfield, Kern County. I think the other one is in Rancho Cordova in the Sacramento area. But we have a shot at stopping it in the state assembly. But if we don't stop it there, then we're going to have to count on Governor Jerry Brown. That's really not something I ever want to have to do.
No, that's for sure. The state assembly is controlled by Democrats as well.
Yeah. In fact, it has. They actually have the 2/3 votes in the state assembly. So we just need to peel away really just one. If we just get one, and they get all the Republicans to be responsible and show up to vote, then we can succeed and we can pull it back. But we're going to need to get at least one Democrat to be reasonable and tolerant. Because California is real big on tolerance, as you know, Jesse.
I know.
Real big. We're the most.
Right.
The reality is we're the most intolerant, most bigoted state in the country when it comes to respecting people's and groups' rights to have religious and moral convictions and to follow those religious and moral convictions. It's really a very barbaric, intolerant, closed-minded state when it comes to these kinds of pieces of legislation. It's really remarkable.
Will this bill affect the churches? If passed, would it affect churches as well?
Well, not directly, but I'm really glad you mentioned that because many churches have sponsor the Boy Scouts to meet with them,
right?
Or other groups like Awanas, which is a wonderful youth organization, or Young Life, or Youth for Christ, or FCA. So those churches might be feel somewhat inhibited or limited if this is a organization that's treated like a for-profit. There's some legal things that come into play there, but even more importantly, even more seriously, is the fact that if this passes and these nonprofit youth organizations lose their state tax exempt status because of their beliefs and their convictions, then the next piece of legislation will likely hit all nonprofit organizations, and the next one will probably hit all churches and synagogues to boot. I mean, there's really no rational reason why they should be tolerant towards just the nonprofit youth organizations. If this is their goal, and it's to engage in religious intolerance and bigotry, then it's only a matter of just 1 or 2 years before we'll see similar attempts against religious institutions as well.
No, these people are not going to stop until they take away the rights of any nonprofit organization to speak what they believe to be true. And,
you're right.
And they say they don't want to go after the churches, but they will go after the churches as well if they get away with this bill right now. They don't. It doesn't end. We've seen that happen. These folks came out of the closet. They said, "Oh, we just want to come out of the closet. Nothing else. We just want to be free to express ourselves." And they came out, and there's just been no end to their destruction since that time.
Yeah, it's we're far. People are waiting with bated breath with regards to Proposition 8 of the state Supreme Court. This legislation is much farther down the river of intolerance than that. This is really outrageous.
Brad, let me take a quick break. When we come back, I want to tell the folks how to get to your website and what we all can do to stop this bill. Back in a moment.
stuff. Who do you think you are, Mr. Big Stuff? You're never gonna get my love. Now because you wear all those fancy clothes. Oh, you
Okay,
have a big
welcome back. Brad Dacus is with me. I have to tell you, folks, this is a spiritual battle like none before. It is definitely a battle between good and evil. Right versus wrong. That's for sure. And I see amazing things happening with families, with friendships, with the country at large. Eric Holder, I can't believe this guy Obama hasn't gotten rid of him at this point. But yet I understand they all think alike. It's a battle between good and evil, and it's split down the middle at this point. But we can win. God is with us. We can absolutely win. Talking about SB 323 in California, it's a bill aimed at forcing the Boy Scouts and other Christian organizations to embrace homosexuality and quote-unquote gender identity. Brad, let me ask. The Boy Scouts have already caved in. So they don't need to go after them anymore. They decided that they're going to allow open homosexuality in the Boy Scout at this point.
Yeah, and a little clarification there, because you're right. Because the Boy Scouts did say, okay, we'll allow boys who have homosexual feelings and thoughts, and who claim to be homosexual to be in the Boy Scouts. But they still do not allow the homosexual leaders to be in the Boy Scouts, and they also still have their policy regarding sexual activity. So it is still morally unstraight, still morally wrong for any boy to be openly engaging in sexual activity, including homosexual activity.
What's going to stop it? Were they out camping and bunking up at night in the tent?
Well, I know, and
that's
a risk. That's a factor that, unfortunately, that these scout leaders are going to have to deal with. They're going to have to be very adamant, very clear that if you engage in any activity, you're out of the Boy Scouts. But I think what's important to recognize here is that the boys at this age in the Boy Scouts, we're looking at like 12, 13, 14, 15, maybe 16. They're like in early adolescence. It's not uncommon for boys to be struggling with sexual identity in terms of. It's a very common thing. There's actually even a lot of temptation for experimentation in junior high that goes on, and they're working through a lot of these issues. They have a lot of natural curiosities, comparing themselves with others in the locker room, and so a lot of boys think that, and they're afraid. They have a high fear factor. I must be homosexual. I may be homosexual. Very high fear factor. Very high concerns. And especially if the boys have not had a father in their picture, they have a broken family. These boys need the Boy Scouts more than ever, because the Boy Scouts is all about having men help boys become men, having confidence in their manhood, overcoming things, achieving things, developing a self-confidence, and also a code and ethics inwardly. It's all a part of being a responsibility, all part of becoming a man and identifying with manhood. So the Boy Scouts, these boys out there with these struggles, they need the Boy Scouts, especially those who are having the greater struggles.
Yeah.
And so this is the most inhumane thing, the most insane thing, this most cold-hearted thing that these Democrats in the state Senate could even be imagining, to force the Boy Scouts to hire homosexual and transgender leaders who are not going to help these boys, only confuse these boys more and lead even more of them into a path of death and destruction, statistically.
We have about 4 minutes left here, Brad. The reality is, now that the Boy Scouts have opened the door for these young boys to come in, even if they are homosexuals, the leadership would change as well. Once these folks get their foot in the door, it doesn't stop until they get everything that they want, because now if young boys, straight boys, should complain about homosexual boys, there's going to be lawsuits talking about discrimination.
Yeah, and that's a real fine line between that they're going to have to deal with just the boys that are coming in, because of the new policy. I think that we at Pacific Justice Institute will work with any Boy Scout chapter out there that wants to know where it draws a line. We'd be happy to work with any state or local chapters because I think that they still, at this point, the Boy Scouts can still function within their moral guidelines and make it very clear that anyone who's having these feelings, if I was head of Boy Scouts, I'd say, you know what, if you think you're homosexual, you have these feelings, you know what, this is not uncommon in early adolescence, folks. We at the Boy Scouts are here to help you into manhood and that confidence in manhood, and through this, many of those feelings will go away as they normally do, and so we're going to help you guys become men, and just move on and say. And if anyone tries to push any lifestyle, sexual lifestyle, any lifestyle different than the code of the Boy Scouts, you'll be immediately removed. This is our code. This is our moral conduct. Anything espousing anything differently than this is not allowed.
Maybe they could have a homosexual tent at night. All the gay people sleep in one tent, and the straight guys sleep in the other one.
Yeah, yeah. They can make it. They could take precautionary measures. But,
yeah.
But it's once again it's actually an early adolescence. Every boy has some concerns, some hidden fears that because they don't understand some of the natural curiosity, the feelings that they have. So I think that they have to adopt strong policies, but without question, if they have to adopt homosexual leaders taking these boys up in the mountains, or transsexual, trans men who are dressed like women up in the mountains, it's all over.
Yeah.
It is all over, and the death and the destruction that is going to occur to so many boys who've benefited from these programs, particularly in the inner cities where the fathers are statistically even less there. It's going to be astronomical, and it's going to be a real, definite defeat for the boys in this country.
Brad, give me a quick yes or no on this. These bills that these Democrats are passing here in California, once we take over, the Republicans take over, because one day we will take the state back. Will we be able to overturn these bills?
Oh yes. If we have the votes, these can be reversed. And I encourage everyone. We have a special website called genderinsanity.com. We're trying to get signatures to petition these different legislators to change their position and to oppose this legislation, along with other legislation like AB 1266, which they can look at as well.
What's your website again?
It's genderinsanity.com.
What else? I'm sorry, repeat that. Go ahead, Brent.
Yeah, genderinsanity.com, and they can go there, and then they can pass it on and forward this out, blanket this to other people. This is not, we at Pacific Justice Institute, we don't just do petitions for some database purpose. We actually use petitions when they're relevant and when they're necessary. This is one of those opportunities, and I encourage people to do that, to go to genderinsanity.com to participate. And they like to get our press releases and case updates. They can also go to our website, which is pacificjustice.org, pacificjustice.org.
Do you guys take donations as well?
Oh, thank you, Jesse.
Yeah.
Yes, we do. We're a 501c3 nonprofit, and I'm very grateful to anyone who can help join us and support our work in this very important battle and the many other battles we're facing, which they can find on our website. They can do it. They can donate right on our website, which is pacificjustice.org, pacificjustice.org.
Well, I know the fine work you guys are doing. If it wasn't for Pacific Justice Institute, California would be gone completely already. And I will be making a donation to you guys today. I really appreciate the work that you're doing.
Well, I appreciate you, Jesse. You are like a prophet in the wilderness in my book, as a man who, that is, you boldly state what's true and right and don't apologize for it. And more and more people need to hear what you're sharing. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. I appreciate your work. Thank you for your kind comments, words there. And we'll have you back for another update.
Thank you.
All right, buddy.
Thank you, buddy. Bye.
Bye now. 888-775-3773. I'll take your phone calls when I come back.